You've heard of this lady before. Her name is Kristen Welker. And, well, she used to be a White House correspondent, so we know her extremely well here on the Bald Brad Show. And let's just say the way that she treated Trump was very, very disrespectful. So Trump blast, nasty, hostile. Kristen Welker, you hurt yourself so badly, so badly. And we're going to play portions of this interview because she came out acting like Caitlin Collins of CNN, just a complete B. And as somebody that's watched Kristen Welker for years during the White House press, I mean, I would say I'd see her 2-3 times a week. Never acted like this, which tells me that somebody is pulling the strings here, probably her boss, telling her to act this way. Complete disrespect from Kristen here. So there's a few clips. We're going to show you that one in a little bit, but I want to show you some other ones to kind of kick off the interview here with Meet the Press. Here's this one.
I understand that on day one, you're going to be signing a flurry of executive orders. Can you give me just what are the top ones people should know about?
A lot of it will have to do with economics. A lot's going to have to do with energy. A lot's going to do with having to do with the border. We're going to immediately strengthen up the border and do a real job. And some of the basics.
I understand that on day.
Oh, he's going to be doing a lot day one. You're going to see a lot of people fired as well on day one. I mean, he said by noon on day one, which is going to be January 20th, I want names of all those involved in Afghanistan because they're going to be fired. You're going to see a lot of stuff on day one. And I've always said, you know, I keep my reservations. I don't know how I want to word this. I believe Donald Trump, but I don't have a lot of faith in government. And so I'm really hoping that he keeps his promises at the end of the day is what I'm hoping. I'm really hoping, or else, man, boy, oh boy, am I going to be let down. Because there's a lot of stuff he could do here. And if there's ever a time to sit there and turn this country around, it's right now. Now, Trump says I have to stop wars with tariffs. Yeah, there's some truth to that.
Other things, tariffs. I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part, and we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics, having to do with other things.
You see her face there at the end? Oh, that tells you how this interview was going and how she was handling it. Like, can you just tell me how many conversations have you been, like just natural conversations where you're just shooting the shit with somebody, that you had a facial reaction like that? Probably not too often. There's probably not that much serious stuff going on where you're like, oh my God. So we'll see. What I find fascinating is Democrats and the progressive left sit there and treat Donald Trump like he's an idiot, like he doesn't know what tariffs are and how he doesn't know how to sit there and negotiate. The guy sat there and had one of the most famous negotiation books in the entire world, if not the top one, The Art of the Deal. I mean, the guy has sat there and worked with negotiations his entire life. He became a billionaire. It's so interesting to me. Like, I'm not sure he knows what a tariff is or how to use it or how to use it properly. The guy sits there and has done more in his life than you would need to sit there and do in multiple of your lifetimes. He's negotiated more than you'll ever see in multiple lifetimes. So don't tell me that he doesn't know what he's doing and all this other stuff. And he's correct. If it's used properly and handled correctly, then yeah, you could sit there and make money off of it. And also it could be used as a negotiation tool and a tactic to sit there and get what you want. The reason why, if somebody's manipulating their currency, like China, or they're manipulating their economy in some way, shape, or form, well, then they're not sitting there playing the trade game very fairly. And so you got to sit there and impose stuff to have an equal trade-off. And one of those equal trade-offs is that if you increase tariffs coming in, well, then it's going to offset something. And so the consumer here in the United States is going to end up paying more. But what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and go at some point, hey, you know what? This product's a little bit too expensive for me. I'm just not going to buy it at all. That's how things work here. If you knew previously you're getting a TV for $100 and now it was $1,000, are you going to go buy that $1,000 TV that you just knew a year ago was $100? No. And what's going to be the explanation? Yeah, I imposed a 100% tariff on this country because they're sitting there manipulating shit. And well, now they can't sit there and sell their stuff anymore. Well, what do you think is going to happen to that business in that other country? Yeah, it's not going to do too well. And you know what? Now you sit there and equalize things where now the TV is, yeah, it's more expensive here in the United States, but you also bought made in America, by America. So there's different routes you can go with it, and other countries don't like it. And if you want to see this already playing out in action, when Donald Trump said he was going to hit Mexico and Canada with a 25% tariff, did you see how quickly the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, came to Mar-a-Lago? Within 48 hours. 48 hours, the guy came into Mar-a-Lago, was crapping his pants. Sir, and Trump's like, kiss the ring. Come on, Justin, kiss the ring. And look what the Mexico president, she sat there and she had a phone call with Trump and wanted to get things done and negotiated and figured out, even though she came out going, well, that's fine. We'll increase 25% tariffs on you guys. That's fine. We don't need Mexico. It's astonishing how some of these countries just think that we like extremely need them. No, we don't. We get a lot of stuff from Mexico, but look, we can get stuff from Vietnam. We get stuff from other places. Ain't a big deal. Taiwan. Well, the interview went on and Trump threatened tariffs until Mexico and Canada stemmed the flow of illegal immigration and deadly drugs from the countries in the United States. Trudeau flew to Mar-a-Lago within 15 seconds of the call ending.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that. I spoke with I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border, too, a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%.
She pretends to be listening. Yeah. She's so animated too during the whole thing. You'll see it. She's extremely animated. She also says to President Trump says we have to get the criminals out of the country. I mean, there's thousands of them. Got to get them out.
To get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, you
don't believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way,
the
police are afraid to do anything.
So the hostility gets going for sure. And Trump says we can make sure Americans with pre-existing conditions have coverage and bring health care costs down. I do think that's possible, but you got to revamp a lot of things. And I think one of those things you need to do is kind of remove some of these regulations and red tape that are on some of these companies, but we'll see.
Will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage, and can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their prices?
Because you know what?
What about their prices, sir? I
want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe.
Will people with...
If you think about it, and look, I know a lot of you might disagree with what I'm about to say here. The idea of insurance, right, is that you get something so that when you have that rainy day or that event occurs, that it's ultimately going to be covered by the insurance, meaning that thing that happened hadn't have happened yet. But when you're talking about health insurance, it's an interesting idea about, and just hear me out. I'm not saying it shouldn't be included. Just hear me out. I just want to, it's a fascinating thing where we've kind of switched into something that's really interesting, is that insurance is always supposed to take care of the thing that happens in the future. But when you have a pre-existing medical condition and you sit there and opt in for an insurance to take care of something that already had happened, that's not insurance. That is healthcare. And so I understand we've changed the word from insurance to healthcare, but it's still your health insurance. So it's such a fascinating thing to me, is that you're putting a liability on an insurance company, whereas before, when you got insurance, the liability had not occurred yet. So it's a fascinating thing how we've switched from health insurance to health care. And if we don't want to have that insurance, but treat it as health care, then we need to look differently in terms of how the whole thing is structured in the first place. That's where I'm getting at. I think people have pre-existing conditions should be taken care of. I just want to be clear here. I just find it a very fascinating whole kind of idea in the insurance industry, that people are pissed that the insurance companies don't exactly want to take on pre-existing conditions, because a lot of the aspect is, well, if you sit there and go to your doctor and take care of yourself, well, those pre-existing conditions might have never been there in the first place. And then we're actually just dealing with insurance at the end of the day. That's why a lot of insurance companies will actually pay you to go to the doctor, get checkups, or if you're running. I know my wife does this, where she sits there and she gets a certain amount of dollars every single month for running or eating appropriately, getting enough sleep, and it's all tracked. When she goes into the doctor, she gets money back, things like that. So it's a very interesting thing, but want to share that with all of you. So Trump says retribution will be through success. Oh, I love that statement. Ooh, baby.
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be my greatest. That would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped into our country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down, because, you know, I won on two things: the border, and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border, and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. I'm really looking.
Oh, you guys, relish these next 4 years. I hope that they end up being a golden renaissance for us. I call it the Trump Great Reset. I really do. I hope that it's great. And if it is, I can't emphasize this enough. I am so blessed to not just be covering politics and have this kind of following on the internet, but that I get to share it with all of you. I really do. You're never going to experience this again, I think, in our lifetimes. There's not going to be another president that talks like this, acts like this, does these things. We are living in the greatest time of politics, and I am still going to be taking it all in. I am not going to be taking it for granted, and I hope neither do any of you. Now, Trump says, I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I always knew he was going to give him a pardon. So here's Donald Trump reacting to that.
I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon. And sort of, I don't like putting myself in a position like, I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son.
Well, that didn't work out. Now, let's get into a little bit of the spicy stuff here, because there was a lot in that interview. And I want to make sure I have it queued up appropriately for y'all, where I don't blast out your eardrums. So here's where Donald Trump kind of just has had enough of her, and she is being hostile. It's a long clip, but Donald Trump even looks off to his team like, what's going on with this chick?
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
Like, calm down. Your job's not that important. Shit.
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think?
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that, it carries weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember. Unselect Committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
doing that. If you do
that
in a civil case, you go to jail.
They deny doing that. And officials say that the order never came in for the National Guard.
A statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about January 6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you. They deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm just saying they deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen,
No, Kristen, you are sitting there scoffing off like you don't care. Do we need to go backwards? She goes, yeah. Yeah, that's what she did. She goes, he brings it up. Franco, if you're listening to this, include that clip.
Benny Thompson wrote in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Just about 30 seconds ago, he brings up the whole idea, and she goes, yep. Like doesn't give a shit.
I did it. You would be standing up in that chair shouting at me, and you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Trump is correct here. Like, on everything he said. And she's sitting there playing off like it's not a big deal. I'll tell you what, I liked Kristen slightly before this. She's on my shit list along with Caitlin Collins. Not somebody to be trusted, not somebody that actually takes their job seriously, but pretends like they do. And you know what's sad? Again, I think there was somebody at the station, NBC to be specific, that's telling her to act like that. Because I never saw her act like that in 3 years of doing this show and watching White House press briefings almost every single week, in some cases almost every single day, when they were going every day. Usually they're now like once every 2 weeks because Karine Jean-Pierre can't answer a question. So wild stuff, and good for Trump. And I think Michelle here, just Michelle said it correctly. He is trying to help her career, her choice not to listen. Correct. He sat there and says she has such potential. She does. You want to know who I think does it the best? That is a White House press correspondent, but also can push a little bit, is Ed O'Keefe. Ed O'Keefe does a phenomenal job of sitting there pushing back. He's pushed back really hard on Karine Jean-Pierre, but he's also pushed back on Trump and Joe Biden. And, I think he genuinely does try to act unbiased and pushes when he thinks that something is not correct. So I like Ed O'Keefe a lot. As of right now, he's not on my bleep list, but we'll see. We might need a new list here coming in 2025. Wow, man, it's going to be crazy. Imagine the White House press briefings on that bad boy. Well, speaking of people that can't be trusted,